Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be speaking here today in front of such an impressive gathering of airline people and, of course, our partners from right across the aviation industry. I have been asked to talk to you about easyjet's strategy, and as Richard said, I've been in the aviation industry now over a year, and I've been asked to share some of my experiences in the first year in this role. Well, my first reflection is that actually there are more similarities than differences from my old world, believe it or not. If you think of a business as a group of people serving their customers well against a clear proposition, then the role of the CEO has got a lot of similarities. Setting a clear vision, strategy, getting the team right, most importantly, focusing on people and the customer, driving implementation and delivering financial performance for all shareholders. I was told when I left the Guardian Media Group, after quite a long time, that I'd really miss working with journalists and their unique combination of, Richard, are you listening? Intelligence, cynicism, independence, loyalty, and ability to deliver against deadlines when it matters most. Well, I soon discovered that pilots have almost exactly the same characteristics as journalists. The other thing that becomes very obvious very quickly in this industry is that disruption, whether it's from ATC strikes or volcanoes, is a fact of life for airlines. And I have to say that in the last 18 months alone, I've probably dealt with more events, as we call them in the industry now, than most CEOs deal with in 5 years. And I think one of the CEOs of another airline said to me, you will look back on the year and you will be very pleased about that, which I wasn't thinking at the time, I have to say. So, as you all know, in the last 18 months alone, we've had not one but 2 volcanoes, the worst winter for 31 years, followed, of course, by the worst winter for 50 years. I believe this year will be the worst winter for 51 years, probably. Hikes in the oil price to unprecedented levels. Clearly, every business faces risks from macroeconomic factors and the impact that that has on consumer confidence. But I think for an airline, it is the volatility and unpredictability that makes it challenging, but also so interesting and so competitive. What you realize again very quickly, and I did certainly within my first 3 months, is that this is absolutely the norm. There is always something out of the ordinary every year, and all you can do is be as prepared as you possibly can be, and most importantly, that you manage that disruption well, 1, for your passengers primarily, but 2, for your cost base. Because if you don't manage disruption well, as I say this, partly ironically, but I was lucky to see how something can unravel very quickly in an airline if you have operational issues and the amount of cost that can incur. So that was a very good lesson for me very, very early on, to know that it is about your customers and how you manage them, because you can lose them very easily, even though the disruption is not your fault. But 2, your cost base can really suffer badly. Now, whatever the disruption, EU legislation in all its wisdom means that the airline, of course, is the insurer of last resort. The 2010 volcano alone cost our industry over £1 billion. Now, we are lobbying extremely hard for this because we believe it is preposterous that the airline has to carry every single cost for events outside its control. But the pace, in my view, is glacial. And I do believe that the more united the airline industry is on this, the more effective we would be. The same is true for air passenger duty. As governments across Europe drive through their austerity measures and look for cash, air passenger duty must not be seen as an easy option, which it has been seen in the UK by successive governments. It will be hugely damaging to economies because it will suppress demand. I know Germanwings will be able to talk much more about this. There is clear evidence in Germany, and actually that APD is now being reviewed in Germany by the government because of the effect it's had on the economy. In the UK, the government's proposed changes would cost our economy £2.6 billion, and that is an independent piece of research that has been done on the effect of increasing APD in this country. There is no environmental justification for these taxes, as next year we will have to have permits for our carbon emissions under EU ETS, as many of you will know. This will cost easyjet alone £25 million prorated for the next financial year. I've also been asked to speak about easyjet's vision and our strategy, and to do so I just thought I'd quickly summarise where we've come from. Since we were founded in 1995 with a mission to provide safe, affordable and convenient flights, we've grown to become the UK's largest airline, carrying 55 million passengers this year. Now, I don't think a lot of people know that actually that is more than BA, BMI, and Virgin put together. So we're now Europe's 5th largest airline. We have revolutionised the way people travel in Europe, operating on more than 550 routes, 129 airports, with a fleet of just over 200 aircraft. And despite our UK routes, 60% of easyjet's passengers now start their journey from outside of the UK, and we are truly a pan-European airline, although I would say we have a lot of work to do organisationally to catch up with that fact. easyjet's Advantage network connects the most convenient airports. I mean, that is one of our USPs, is that we fly to primary airports, not secondary and tertiary airports, and that allows us to do some quite exciting things with our routes. Now, given the problems I referred to that we had last summer, the first priority for my new management team was to strengthen the integrity and resilience of our operation. This summer, from the start of May to the end of August, 77% of our departures and, more importantly, 83% of our arrivals were within 15 minutes, significantly better than the 53.3% and 59.3% I inherited the previous summer. The success has definitely flowed through to our customer satisfaction scores, where for the month of August, we scored 81% compared to 70% for August 2010. So I'm pleased about that, although I would say that we are still doing a lot of work on the end-to-end passenger experience. Another early priority for me was to articulate and reinforce what was at the heart of easyjet's success and what we needed to do to sustain that momentum and build on that success in a much more competitive market. The outcome has been to define more clearly what we stand for. And if you talk to anybody at easyjet, whether they're in ground ops, cabin crew, flight deck, it doesn't matter where they are, they say they are absolutely passionate about making travel easy and affordable. They're very, very proud of the fact that we combine low fares and warm service. We're using this cause as a test in our day-to-day operations. So if anyone from Menzies or Swissport or any of those ground operators are here, that is something we're going to be talking much more to you about. It applies throughout the journey, throughout the passenger's journey from end to end, as I said. And if we get it right, we really believe it will enable us to deliver our ambition of becoming Europe's preferred short-haul airline, making market-leading returns. Now, many of you will have noted that we're not aiming to be the biggest in Europe. You can be biggest and very unprofitable. Nor that we are saying that we are going to be Europe's preferred low-cost airline. That's not because easyjet no longer sees itself as low-cost, quite the reverse. We're incredibly proud of having a low-cost model. It's built into the DNA of the business model, and coming at it from the outside, it's not something you can suddenly create. It's either kind of there in the bones of the company, or it's not. Those low costs are the basis of our low fares, and that's why we will always focus on reducing costs, eliminating waste, and operating efficiently. But it is the consumer that finds titles like legacy or low cost, traditional or budget, increasingly irrelevant. People don't say, I want to fly with a flag carrier today, or I want to go on my holiday with a low-cost airline. Our passengers make their choices, as do all consumers in every market, on a combination of value, price, destination, and schedule. And different consumers, as you all know, look for a different balance, depending on whether they're going on business or leisure. Some will always buy the cheapest available, regardless of the level of service. Many more will demand great value and expect good service. And that's really why we believe they fly easyjet. They like the friendly, helpful service that they get on our planes, as well as our low fares. They like the range of food you might actually want to eat and are quite happy to pay for. They want us to do the right thing for them when things go wrong. For example, when we know there's going to be disruption, we actually now proactively communicate to all our passengers affected by text, by email, by any means possible. Because, of course, this is good for our passengers, but it's not just philanthropic. It's easier, simpler, and cheaper to manage the effects of disruption away from the airport. The cost of a disruption to easyjet has fallen by 10% per passenger since we took this more proactive approach since the winter. We are improving our customer relationship management capability, segmenting our customers, and engaging with them as effectively and efficiently as possible. In fact, although we have a new ad campaign coming up, which you'll see some ads of, we will actually reduce our marketing spend because we will be more efficient. The service we offer is reflected in the demographic profile of our passengers, which closely matches Air France or BA's. And you can see it when we board our aircrafts. About 18% of our current passengers are already traveling on business. Now, many of you will know that a key element of our strategy is to increase the number of business travelers flying with easyjet. On some routes, we don't really need to do that. London, Glasgow, we've already got about 40% are already traveling on business. The key building blocks in attracting such passengers, as you well know, are punctuality, reliability, and of course, schedule. We fly to 40 of Europe's 50 largest airports, more than any other airline. That's where our business customers want to go. Much of our recent capacity growth has been thickening routes between Europe's biggest cities to give business travellers the choice that they need. Good examples include operating 12 times a day between London and Amsterdam and 8 a day between Paris and Milan. So building on this platform of frequency and network, we have now offered a flexi-fare product. These tickets will give passengers unlimited flexibility to change their flight up to 2 hours before the scheduled departure time and within a 4-week window around the booked travel date. Passengers will also get speedy boarding, a bag in the hold, and no booking fee. Although the flexi fares bundles features that we know business travellers value, we will stay true to easyjet's commitment to offering this at a lower fare than prices charged by any legacy carriers. And I'm pleased to say that since we put the flexi-fare product on easyjet.com, we've actually seen a really healthy spike in sales. Now, our next phase of this, and we have been looking at this very much in bite-sized chunks, the next phase is to drive more sales through GDS and corporates, but I think that's a story for another day. Now, here is our new offer to business passengers, and you are actually the first group of people to hear about this. If you, actually not just you, but if anybody buys a flexi-fare ticket, and if your arrival time is more than 15 minutes late, you will get a free leisure ticket anywhere on easyjet's network. Terms and conditions apply. Actually, the only term and condition will be that if there is exceptional events out of our control, i.e. significant disruption, then that won't apply, but that will be the only exclusion to that offer. That obviously shows two things, I think. One is that we are completely confident that our operation is robust and stable and that we can recover any event well. And two, that we really believe in FlexiFare as a product. We believe it will always be cheaper than that equivalent product on a legacy carrier. On to airports. I know there are a lot of airports in this room and also easyjet's new bases. For those of you in this country, I dare say Southend Airport doesn't probably hit the radar screens of many people outside of the UK, but we do have a base at Southend Airport and it's caught the imagination, and a lot of people say to me, that's not exactly on strategy, it's not exactly a primary airport. Just let me say two things about that. It was a very interesting thing for us because Stobart approached us and asked us to work with them on the building of the new extension to this airport. And it was a great opportunity for us to get what we wanted from an airport. So we were very involved in the design of that. It's a fantastic customer experience. So actually, you can be landside to airside in about 10 minutes. So it's just absolutely amazing. It's also because there are excellent links into London. Now, we've made the most of this, as you can imagine, in PR terms. Given Locog's careful stewardship of the valuable Olympic partnership rights, I shouldn't really point out that passengers flying into Southend will only be 45 minutes on a train to Stratford and the Olympic Park. And to avoid any confusion, I'd also like to make it clear that we chose gold medal winner Sally Gunnell to help launch the route because she's actually got very, very strong ties to Essex. So it did capture the imagination. We got reams and reams of press coverage about the opening of Southend. And also, to be clear, we've actually taken 3 planes out of Stansted to put it into Southend, so it's not an extension of our fleet for Southend. We're also opening a base in Lisbon, which you might have read about, and that's due to open in April as long as the new terminal is complete there. We see Portugal, despite its economic troubles, as an opportunity still. We're already number 2 there to TAP's number 1. So regardless of what happens with TAP, we still believe we have a strong position there that we can actually cement and build. Now, airports are central to achieving our goal of making the end-to-end travelling experience easy and affordable for all our passengers. And since there are a lot of airports in the room, I thought I'd just say a couple of words about that. Efficiency is, of course, at the heart of our business model and drives every single thing we do. But actually, sadly, I think it still needs to be better reflected by many airports. I think too many airports still focus on serving old business models. Not only do these airports cost more than they should, they also lead to less efficient and less desirable journeys for passengers. Airports which charge by passenger rather than by use is kind of badly out of date given the amount of traffic easyjet and other low-cost carriers generate to airports. One of our largest headwinds is going to be airport inflationary cost pressures, and we will resist those in every way. So to conclude, the future is hard to read, I'm sure, for all of us in this room, particularly given the macroeconomic uncertainty that we all face. One thing that is clear is what easyjet has to do. We know we will deliver our strategy and our cause. We're absolutely determined to do so. We're taking a cautious approach with a flat fleet for winter 11 and 12, and we have the ability to adapt to the European economic environment by maintaining that or by growing profitably. So our fleet is able to be flexible, and that's one of the key aspects of what we negotiated and announced to the market last November. I think that flexibility, that adaptability is going to be critical, because I don't know post-2013 whether the world will look different. I hope it does, but I'm not sure. So flexibility is incredibly important to us. That is why we believe we will be a winner in what will inevitably be a very tough time ahead. Thank you all very much for listening.